So the Transitions Conference, it was kind of, I guess you could say the concept was somewhat of my baby, and I was the first spearheader of it, I guess. And I came up with the idea roughly at another conference actually in the US at the New Economics Institute called Reroute. And that was filled with stimulating ideas and things like that. And then, eventually I had a group of interns that were supporting the conference, and that was through Professor Satoshi Akida's class again. And then we kind of got together and we had a meeting, and we tried to operate as horizontally as possible. And so I presented the idea, and then we kind of like reformulated it, and it turns out that like the idea ended up being very, very, very similar to what it was originally. And then with the help of a really actually excellent like internship team, who actually eventually won an award from the university for their role in organizing the conference, it was able to get off the ground really successfully. And the way that it worked is the process of organizing it and marketing it and things like that was a part of the wider campaign. And so there was lots of outreach that was done, and people would give class presentations, and there was a lot of excitement that was mounting. And the purpose of the conference was to position very exciting projects that people almost wouldn't believe exist next to projects that are happening in our own community. And then to kind of present much larger, grander projects that could be happening here, to kind of like show that these other things that we thought maybe weren't possible, are very similar to what we maybe think is not possible here, which is to take over the food service contract and to build a greenhouse and all this other stuff. But also not only that, so that's like the educational component that came with the conference, and kind of the pushing people outside of their normal box, which kind of says that you can't just do like you can't accomplish. You have to kind of follow the beaten trail. I guess we were trying to invoke more of an entrepreneurial spirit, but at Concordia in particular, and there was a fixation on hyper-local action. So at Concordia, because that's where we have the most agency, and at universities we have a remarkable amount of agency, I would say, at least in Quebec. But the other component that's also essential to it is that those people those that are we're invoking an entrepreneurial spirit, or that's the intention. Those people that kind of attend the conference, and because it's about Concordia in particular, start to think about how they can change the university and what roles they could play. And so people, would take on responsibility, I guess you could say, and some projects directly came out of the conference in NDG. There's a group that said that they were partially inspired by the conference. A number of the people who organized it, some of the interns, eventually moved to take on other positions in other university bodies, like Sustainable Concordia, to name one. And a number of them are now, some of them have positions on the executive of the CSU. Other ones have taken on other leadership roles within student government and things like this. And so when people have, I guess they're kind of, from that, there came people in a bunch of different positions that had very similar ideas as to what could happen within the university's food system. And so I think that really helped to propel it forward. Because when the conversations were happening at different bodies, there were people who already knew a good deal about these things, and so that would propel the conversation forward, and then they would take on natural leadership roles in those areas. And I think it just ended up supporting the project overall, and that's really what it was supposed to do, because in a university setting, we need to remember that turnover is like the main variable, I guess, or not the main, one of the main variables, because students turn over like crazy. So we need to, we need these mechanisms to re-educate people and to inspire people to become involved again. And so it's an annual conference about hyper-local action. And yeah, I would say it served its purpose, and I think it continues to. And hopefully there'll be a third next year.